Haley is in Denver, our first call this hour. Hi, Haley. How are you?
Doing good, thank you.
Good.
My husband and I are currently on baby step number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Our annual income is about 115,000 per year, and we have about 75,000 left in debt to pay off.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that we can be completely debt free within the next 24 months.
Amen.
And my question is, where do we prioritize family planning into the baby steps if we're facing an untraditional path to start our family through surrogacy or adoption?
Well, there's not a baby in the baby steps. You have babies when you're ready to have babies, but you throw a curve in there when you say there's a different kind of a cost here. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think, and I guess the other possible question that comes up that's similar, you're not asking that question, but that's similar is an in vitro. When do we do that? And I'm 36, and I don't want to wait 2 more years and that kind of stuff. I get that question over the years a lot. It's in the same bucket of questions, and so. I think if you're going to do surrogacy or adoption, you would do you would learn so much about these two things that you would find that there's a vast spectrum that people pay for these things. 5,000 to 100,000 spectrum.
Yeah, we're seeing about 45 to 60,000, depending on which route we take and if it's
Yeah.
in the United States or international. And my husband is 35, so age is something that we're definitely
Yeah.
thinking about.
Yeah. I think you've got more research to do.
Okay.
We've worked with many, many, many families that have done adoptions for half of your low number or less. And so I think you're getting the Bentley pitch rather than the Chevrolet pitch on the adoption process. So no, it does not
We're
cost.
being
It does no,
picky.
it does not cost that much. And so I think you've got some. Here's the thing: the more information I gather and the more options I have, the more power I have in making a decision. And I don't think you have enough options yet. As a matter of fact, I'm sure you don't because the prices you're quoting me are ridiculous.
Well, that's mainly for our first choice, which would be surrogacy, so that we could have a biological child. The adoption would be secondary,
Okay.
which we know we can do cheaper.
Okay. All right. And obviously there's a lot of ways to compensate a surrogate and a lot of price
Mm-hmm.
ranges on that as well. So it's such a personal thing and such an intimate thing that it's very hard for somebody on the radio like me to speak into it and not sound callous or not sound like I don't care about it. I do care about it. It's just you do not want to get into these situations and and look back later and wow, that it's so emotional it can cloud you from treating it like a business transaction as much as you should. I want it to be emotional. I want it to be intimate. I want it to matter, but I also want you to use wisdom in the process. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to be unfeeling, in other words, but so anyway,
I can tell you in our life, me and my wife, when we were walking down some of these steps, we put an end, a line we wouldn't cross, because we knew that once our hearts got into this deal, and once there are people around you always saying, well, there's another option, there's another option, there's another option, that suddenly you wake up and you're so far over your head or you're so far underwater. It's just the whole thing. What was going to be this joyous, precious moment gets really, really cloudy.
what's the 75,000 in debt?
Oh my gosh. Everything. We have
How much of it? How much of it's cars?
About 25,000, but last July it was 90. We sold. Well, we've surrendered 2 vehicles, and then we're paying off the deficits on it. But we have 2 cash cars now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We have 2 beaters right now.
Okay.
So
All right. So the 25 is the deficits. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. And then the rest is some debt to, I have a loan with my parents, and then credit cards, just furniture.
How much do you owe your
Stuff
parents?
like that. About $20,000.
Okay. All right.
That was
I
our
might,
portion of our wedding.
I might consider making that a pause point in the clean up the rest of that snowball, because you do want the cash to be freed up to be able to do these other things. So I want you working your debt snowball, and I want you pushing through the majority of it. But that 20, I might ask for a moratorium on that until after the baby, and say, Mom and Dad, I'm not going to pay anything on this because we're going to get you a grandkid.
Ooh, that's a good.
Yeah, blackmail. And but yeah, or I mean, negotiate that with them, talk to them about it, and so that's a different kind of debt that you could get, no payments and no interest while you work through this other thing, and then come back to it after baby and get it done. That would be fine, but the question is not really when to have babies. The question is where to stick a $60,000 or $40,000 or $25,000 expense in the middle of your debt snowball, and it's an expense that is very intimate, very emotional, and worth every penny.
Yeah, I would strongly recommend going to a counselor that you recommend, or a pastor. This is one of those moments where your pictures and words get screwed up, right? We think in pictures, but we speak in words, and we're both saying baby, and we're both saying kid, and we're both saying pay off the debt. And that's when one of you has one picture and the other's got another one. So just being able to have a third party that walk you through, make sure everybody's on the same page. Where are we headed? What do we want to do here? And what order we want to do that? Man, you can't go wrong getting everybody on the same page.
Yeah, that's important. And I agree with what you said earlier too, that you and Sheila talked about, is you do have to put a line on this, because otherwise your emotions will plow past anything that's reasonable. You look up and you'll be 150 in.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah. And I've seen people with in vitro where they just break the bank.
Yeah.
They just keep going back.
And that was my wife's wisdom up front. Let's draw a line here. Let's say this is as far as we're going to take this, and then we're going to work hard, but we're not going to cross this line. And that ended up being extraordinary wisdom, as usually our wives provide us. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those things that's it's impossible for people or yourself to tell yourself no on.
Yeah.
It's just and if you don't, you're going to get in trouble.